But when it comes to the solution, I think the last thing they tried was to get these warehouses and put people in, and then some apartments, some hotels to put people in. But one of the criteria to qualify for that is that you couldn't do drugs. Literally, the people on the street were complaining, well, they don't let us do what we want to do, so we don't want to go there. So they'll just pick a corner or a bench to sleep on. That's after they have something available to move into. So it's not that important. It's drugs are probably more important to a lot of the people. What I have seen that I think might work, they're doing little tiny houses. I don't know if you guys are aware of this.
Yeah, we've seen the tiny houses.
So I actually saw there's a little community up in when I saw a video of it. They were talking about in Ventura, Los Angeles, Orange County, but there's also the one that I saw is over by Banning and Beaumont, which is I guess, how do I describe, between maybe where Palm Springs and LA is at, if that makes any sense, if that means anything. But there's a bunch of little tiny houses, and it looks like that's working, because I don't think they put any restrictions on them. And you could see people go into their house, come out with a little coffee, talk to the neighbor. It looks like a little working community, and it's a bunch of maybe 100 square foot, something like that. They're not too big, but it looks like.
And they include a kitchen, a little living area. Yeah, we've seen them boxables. Yeah, one of the companies that make them is Boxables. How for financing is that? That can't be done for financing, Laura?
That's a great question.
What's that?
I said that's a great question.
No, I don't think that they paid for any of it. I think this was all provided by.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think this was all provided. It's not, I know they do have, I know there's people that want to finance the tiny homes, and they're working on that with permits and all that, but this was all given. They just picked the spot and they set up a bunch of houses, and I don't know if they bust in a bunch of people, because that area in Beaumont, that's not an area that usually has a lot of homeless people, because there's not a lot of activity. So it's kind of sporadic where you see a homeless person. There's just not that many people walking around where they can ask for money. And when you go to LA, right, there's a whole concentration of people. They're not just going to I don't think they're putting those houses just where everyone is at. They're going to pick a spot and probably move those people.
Yeah, we've had some investors that have bought land and put boxable homes on and put them in as Airbnbs.
Oh, I've heard of that. Is it working out numbers wise?
One of the investors we've got has got it's on one of the lakes up in North Houston, and they've got boxable homes, and they've sort of put them sporadically so that there's a decent view. And we don't really see them that much. They're probably up there every weekend fishing. But the truth of the matter is, I mean, he said it was working. He said last year for Airbnb wasn't as good as the year before. Why that was, I don't know.
I'd be interested in see what the new update is on that, since with the way the economy is going, it looks like the money's slowing down. So I'm very interested to see what the latest update on those Airbnbs is.
What future do you think California's got?
You know what? I think we're going to be good in California for reasons. There's a bunch of things. I mean, we just had that new 20% that they're giving out for people to buy a house. I don't know. Have you guys seen that?
Have you seen that, Laura Courtney?
Literally zero out of pocket. I mean, you got to pay for the class that you have to take. There's probably an appraisal.
Oh, down payment assistance?
The down payment assistance that just passed a couple of days ago. There's like 300 million allocated to that. I think it was supposed to be like $1 billion, but they might go in phases to where they approve 300 now. Once it runs out, they're going to approve another 300. There's a ton of you can go to a bunch of different new builds with the communities. There's 10, 20 houses that are going to hit the market. They've been talking about $25,000 to help people with down payment. The new home builders are paying down rates so that the payment comes down. So I think housing is available. Just don't rush into it. When you rush into it is when you start making those regrettable mistakes, but
Yeah.
little by little, there's a lot of stuff in the pipeline that's just going to help people get into houses.
Yeah. Now, one of the things that interested me, and I wanted your intake on it, was when I was looking at your YouTube channel. You know, you got some interesting videos on there, and one of them was, and we tell, what you're going to say now is what we tell people all the time. So it's just nice for people to hear it from another aspect and perhaps in a different way. Tell people why you think they need to have an agent in a transaction.
Oh, okay. Definitely. So, well, first of all, the easiest way to put it is it really helps prevent fraud against the person, because somebody will try to take advantage of you. We do this every day, so we know what's good, what's bad, and people that don't do it every day, right there, they'll just and even if it's good or bad, it's something new that they've experienced, so they don't know if what they're seeing is good or bad. So you need an agent to tell you your house is worth this much, so you don't miss out on this. If a lender tries to, gouge you on some kind of, you just need that person with experience to guide you. We're going to give you the information that you need for you to make the decision. Personally, I actually make people mad. I had somebody complain. They told me, this was about a year ago when everybody was buying. They told me they started using a different agent, and they said that they didn't like the fact that I didn't look excited for them to buy a house. Now, I don't try to get people excited to buy a house. I try to give them the information and what they need to look at, like price, if it has what they need, if potential cost, do home inspection. All right. So the other agent that was excited for them, they felt like they were about to miss out on something. And I don't do that to people. So that was their complaint, was that I didn't get them excited. Now they bought the house a year later. I just had a conversation with them probably about 3 weeks ago, and they regret the decision to buy that house because the other agent made them feel excited about it, so they didn't want to miss out. And if you look at the stats from
it, now they've basically, what you're saying is they overpaid for the house.
They definitely overpaid for the house. They're
And
upside
you're right.
down right now.
And we talk about that all the time on the Texas Real Estate Show. You know, when he was at the hype last year, new builders were ripping people off, in my opinion. They was overvaluing the house. They're systematic in when they develop a subdivision. What they will do is they will sell one of them houses and get it appraised for over the value by adding, different things onto it and concessions and different things. And they'll do that for maybe 2 out of the subdivision and say there's 50 homes. And then the further they go down, then that makes a huge difference. By the time they get to the end and there's 48 houses, they can continue to increase it.
Yeah, people get excited and they keep buying a little step up. They buy another little step up. They buy another little step up, and they change the color, add a couple grand. You want to change the windows, add a few thousand there, but they make it easy for people to make these put these options in.
Right, I agree. And then, would you want to explain your experience yesterday, or is that not what you want to go into?
What experience?
When you was telling me about, it was a sort of similar thing, really. You said about a new home builder. A new home builder offered your clients a particular type of program, and you didn't think it was available.
Oh, yes. So this is a particular loan program, which is 910, and most builders in the area, and I have closed a loan at this specific builder, and they do not offer the I-10 program. However, the builder told them that they could give them a 4.5 interest rate and 3.5% down payment assistance by a federal agency. So we know that as professionals, that's not an option. But he just let the builder agent, are they called agents, or what are they called?
Well, they're not called. You see, if they were for a builder, they're not agents, because a lot of builders don't like them to keep their licenses. They're basically employees of the builder.
Yeah.
So technically, they don't have to tell the truth. They only have to tell what they believe is the case on a particular house. Israel, who's licensed, he's licensed to tell the truth. We had a guy in the office yesterday, he didn't want to sign a document, but it's a document that the Texas Real Estate Commission get us to ask him to sign. It's called an information about brokerage services. I don't know if you have this, a similar, you know, which basically says that the Texas Real Estate Commission recommend that you have representation in any transaction. Well, here he refused to sign it. So
this builder person, whatever their title is, they even told them that they didn't needed a realtor. Like, don't worry about it. We have you covered, down payment assistance, ITIN, and all of that good stuff. But I told him, look, your situation is specifically based on your status for grant programs, right? This is something that probably they may not be aware. Did you disclose your status? Blah, blah, blah. So I got a little bit more into it with him. And he was like, yeah, I disclosed everything. But he's like, I only have 3,000 and I'm going to get my brand new house. So I told him, okay, well, if that's the case, tell them to lock your rate today, right now. And he's like, okay, I'll go out there. But guess what? He wasn't able to lock the rate.
yeah, surprise, surprise.
But
Hey,
apparently he's still going through the process because he's going to get down payment assistance, which little to his surprise, I know he's going to come back like
knocking
2
on
days
Laura's
before
door.
his closing day, you know, saying, hey, I don't have a house. So I just told him, I still did my due diligence, right? Prepared him, and I told him, these are the programs that you qualify based on your status, right? So because I still feel that it's my, how can I say, it's still my responsibility to educate him, whether he wants to or not, right? So I still provided him the information and provided him the information to his realtor so that we're all on the same page, because I know that he's going to come back. I've seen these situations happen too many times. And you know what's sad? It happens a lot to the Hispanic community, which, you know, just drives me insane.
Oh.
I mean, I'm Hispanic, right? I'm Mexican American, third generation. And
I think I've told you this, and it's not a racialist comment I'm going to make. Obviously, I'm not Hispanic.
Make it interesting.
I was one
It's
of the
okay.
foreclosure things. I was one of the foreclosure kings in 2008. I probably closed 150 homes, all foreclosures, with Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. There was a number of them, and in IndyMac Bank. A large percentage of them people were Hispanic. A large amount of them people, the Hispanic people that they did evictions on, had Hispanic realtors. They was never fully explained what it involved in owning a house and what fees they had to pay. I really don't think they ever understood.
And that's actually why I got into this industry, because I saw all of this being done to my people, right? And them getting evicted from their homes in different scenarios, right? And I just bumped into somebody who was lucky enough, they got into a loan, which was an 80-20 loan. And the only way that he survived was because he was lucky enough to get some money inherited. Otherwise, he would have lost his house.
Ooh.
And, you know, it's sad because why would you like to screw up your own community? You know, that's like something that like really, it pushes my buttons. Because, you know, our responsibility as professionals, as realtors, as loan officers, is to educate our community. That's our oath. That should be our target, not screw up our community, right? And there's a lot of like realtors that I have bumped into through the years that they don't really care. They just care about themselves. I mean, and they're Hispanic.
They care about the next check.
They're like, I just got to pay my bill. Okay, do you realize that this person is going to be in a 30-year? Like they convince them to go owner finance versus getting an actual loan just because they need to make a quick buck.
Yeah,
and I'm not afraid to call them out.
And we manage HOAs, okay, and we've got one HOA And we've had Hispanics that have literally just bought the houses from somebody,
Yep.
done the paperwork themselves, and then the person that used to own the house has a $4,000 HOA payment that was due, but because they didn't do the condominium, basically the HOA certificates and everything else, they are now responsible for that
And you know
$4,000.
what? There's a lot of problem that I see in my community because it's not only Mexican, it's from any other Hispanic heritage, because they're so used to that in their country, a notary holds sort of like the same commitment as an attorney here in the US, right? So they trust the attorney. You should always trust the attorney, right? Not a notary here in the US. So they think that when they come to the US and just have a notary seal, everything is fine and dandy. And they never check with, the appraisal district if their name is filed. Like, they don't do the due diligence. They just meet this person that puts a stamp and they're like, oh, I'm happy, I own a home. And then years down the road, they find out that they never owned the property. They just gave free money away.
Yeah. Who's the board in California? The real estate board?
So there's a lot of different ones. So mine is East Valley, but you switch.
Is it not like the California real estate, whatever?
Yeah, it's Department of Real Estate, DRE. That's the main one. But there's a lot of little local ones that.
Okay.
You join.
And in California, you've never had down payment assistance before?
We was saying no. We have it. It's always something that's as far as I'm concerned. There's always something for teachers, for income education. There's always something from FHA or CalHAFA. There's always something. You just got to qualify for it. But I'm aware. I've used it for my people a lot, my clients.
Yeah. And how about you, Courtney? Any points you want to sort of ask him or about California, any experiences you've had? But what I agree with Laura, I mean, I've experienced it.
I have a question.
Sure.
Can I see your tiny coffee cup?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, look at that. Hey, Starbucks.
This podcast is
That was actually a gift from a client. They saw me at Starbucks. They assumed I just like Starbucks, so they thought it was cute to give me. It was a little set.
It's so small.
Thank you, client, for giving me this cup.
Those are little shots of coffee.
Absolutely. Do you get many investors in California? I mean, multi-families or?
Oh yeah, half the people. Yeah, half the people that half the people that ask me questions, it's investors. They're usually looking for those wholesale deals that, unless it's absolutely necessary, because I feel the person selling the house, when you do a wholesale deal, they're kind of getting gypped on the equity a little bit. So
not a little bit, a lot, because the rule of wholesaling is, you buy it at 70% of the price, which, I'm not a great lover of wholesalers personally, because I feel they've ruined our industry. And the reason why I asked was, who's your real estate department over California? I don't think the Texas Real Estate Commission do enough, because we have documents and contracts and promulgated forms that we're supposed to just fill in, but yet we get wholesalers call us up and say, well, I want to make an offer on a property. Can you send me the forms? Because they go to another state, they do the classes to learn how to wholesale. And what they're told by the people teaching the wholesaling classes is, just go to your real estate agent and get them to do the forms. Just get them to provide you with the forms and you fill them in. And I don't think that TREC do enough. When people are found out doing that, which is the Texas Real Estate Commission, I think they should be taking action on them people.
I 100% agree. You got people that are against using an agent just because someone told them that you can't trust an agent, or you got people trying to sell the house on their own just because they think they're going to get more. If you need, that's why you got to use an agent that's going to be on your side, because they do have your best interest in mind. I always tell people when I'm representing them, this is the contract, this is my job. I literally work for you. I'm trying to make your deal work. If I stop doing that, providing that service for you, you can fire me. I know it says that we're connected here for months, but if I stop doing this for you, you can just tell me I'm done working with you. And if you have a concern and I answer the question and you're not satisfied with my answer, ask me where you can look it up. And I'll point you in the direction, or I'll give you a person that you can talk to and ask the question to. I'll point you to the book where it says why I'm right of the question that I answered it. You know, I've tried to be as transparent as possible. I got clients that don't like me and they still call me and they still use me.
Yeah, well, I've always said there's no I in team.
There's no I in team.
Yeah. So, and the other thing is, I think that a good real estate agent and loan officer, in all fairness, can always offer their clients is a strategy to get to where they need to be.
Yeah,
I think, you know, there's got to be a strategy how you make the offer, and also I think part of that is getting good loan officer. You know, that's why we have Lone Star Premier Mortgage here. They do a fabulous job in the office, you know, to help us put that together. So that way, you know, we've got a full strategy to get somebody into that home. We're not forcing them into that home. At the end of the day, we want to make it affordable, but there's some people that purchased last year that overpaid for the house, and now they're beginning to, you know, to think, well, did I make the right decision?
I think you always have to get to the root cause, right? Why do you think you do not need a realtor? And, you know, break it down from there for them.
Okay.
Because a lot of the time they think they're only thinking about money. And once you start educating them and start breaking down, you know, breaking down that box of why it is and all the information they're getting from everybody surrounding them, then you start explaining, well, this situation, and they will finally realize, unless they're a penny pincher, then they're just a lost cause sometimes.
I don't think they realize how much goes into buying a house, how many pieces there are. They're everywhere. And really the real estate agent and loan officer, they're there to basically make sure that everything goes smoothly and that you don't have those issues. And, you know, I think most of the homeowners would be running around like chickens with their head cut off if they're doing their own transaction.
You're right. I try my best to tell people that there's a lot of signatures, there's a lot of stuff you have to read, there's a lot of stuff you have to look at. And I'm here to guide you through all this and make it as easy as possible and explain everything to you. So there's this step, this step, this step. You're gonna have to do a lot, but don't worry, I'm gonna hold your hand through the whole process. And I try to tell people that. And also another pointer, if an agent is telling you, this is to the clients, if an agent is telling you something and what they're telling you isn't just like rainbows and it just doesn't sound all that good.
You send that to her on Discord. Go on, carry on.
So, they're probably telling you how it is. And there's a lot of agents that'll tell their clients just what they want to hear to keep them happy, just to push it through. You kind of want to have one of those agents that gives you the good and the bad, so you can make your own decision. If you got an agent that's just trying to cheerlead and get you excited about doing something, you're probably missing a detail there that's probably going to come back and bite you later on.
Right. Yeah. Laura has a little bit of a presentation that she wanted to pull up. Can you get that, Kay? And then maybe you can bring it up and we can get Israel's opinion as well.
Bringing that up. I was just posted some of those tiny houses that I was looking at.
Oh, are they
So
tiny houses? Or was
some
it,
of
or
them
was
are
it?
really cute.
In this area, it looks like a hurricane problem.
Yeah.
Israel, I've got to tell you, what would you
Maybe we
rather deal with? Would you rather deal with an earthquake or a hurricane?
So I think I'm okay with an earthquake. That's all I grew up in. But we just had a tornado here in Southern California not too long ago. Did
And you
guys
have
hear about that?
flooding as well.
Oh, that's yeah, that's the potholes. Don't even remind me. The potholes are crazy
You
everywhere.
know, and then you got the fires.
And we're probably gonna have a really bad fire season coming up.
When is your fire season? When does it start?
So I think once everything dries up, probably around May, June, once it starts getting hot and starts drying up. So, and we have a lot of new vegetation that's probably gonna dry up, and I'm a little worried about the fire season coming up. We'll see what happens with
First
that.
time that I've heard that California has a fire season.
What's that?
I didn't know they had a fire.
Oh,
season.
absolutely, they do.
Oh yeah. Oh,
I didn't.
anything can start. There could be a truck could drive by with like a chain hanging, and that could start a fire. Just random fires just start when it gets dry.
Yeah.
I learned a little bit about this whenever we went to Tennessee this last Christmas, and my son, I let him shoot some fireworks, and one just happened to go in the grass. And by the time we were done trying to put it out, it was probably about a 12-foot circle of grass burnt. With us all stomping it out, trying to put water on it and everything else, I was all like, I did not realize it could catch fire this fast and this quick. And it had literally, snow had just melted that morning.
You Texans always cause problems.
Were you guys doing a gender reveal?
Right.
Yikes.
No, it's just not legal where I live to pop fireworks, but it is where we were at in Tennessee.
Do you have any rental properties, Israel?
I do have personal ones and ones that I manage for other people. I'm pretty good at picking tenants, at screening tenants. So my people are happy.
Well, that's good, and that's the important part. We've had problems in Houston with people presenting fraudulent
References.
client applications and references and letters, and so I always say to everybody, buyer beware. In this case, it's landlord beware.
Always check those references. And even if you can show up, I've showed up to, if somebody's trying to rent your place, show up to the place they're renting out right now, because that's the best indicator.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a very good point. Okay, all right. Is it?
So we talk about, tell us a little bit about your area. What do you think is going to happen? What are you seeing?
We are seeing in Houston, the Sun States. I don't think there's going to be a crash. I don't think the market might flatten a little bit. When the prices go up, they don't go up as much as California or the Northeast. I really don't think that the prices, I don't think a lot of my investors are still buying properties. It's been a little bit harder for wholesalers to buy properties. The wholesalers, if they do buy properties, are normally probate properties, which quite generally do need work. We have two offices. We have one in Houston. We have one down in the Lake Jackson area in Brazoria, which is basically riverfront, and also by Galveston, which is on the coast. So we do varied business, but it's even from Houston to Galveston, it's a different type of business, because you've got septics and you've got well water and everything else that goes with that. I've recently just done my continuing education, because I thought, well, I'll do it early this year rather than leave it 2 days before it's due. And I've got to be honest, I was amazed at the amount of changes that we've had the last 2 years, the Texas Real Estate Commission. They've added additional contracts, additional clauses in the contracts. And I think on the whole, they do a good job. I think they could do a lot more. I don't think they do enough, to be perfectly honest, for the industry, because I think the only way the industry survives is by everybody surviving. The people that buy the houses, the people that sell the houses, and also the agents that are like Laura says, and she brought up a good point, is educating the buyers and the sellers. Now you can put that down to training, but you can't teach integrity. That's the problem. And the brokers get blamed for a lot, and I think that's part of the problem. We've let some agents go. Some agents have wanted to go, and we've asked them to stay because they're good agents, and they have a very, very good product, and they reflect the company very well. But the market as a whole is, if I took my $500,000 that I was talking about and went to downtown, it would be very difficult for me to purchase a home downtown, or even like a condominium, for that sort of pricing. And a lot of the younger generation, they want to be downtown perhaps. But if I was for me to really get a house for $500,000, I've got to go 8-9 miles out of the city. Is that what you'd say?
That sounds about right.
Yeah, 8 or 9 miles. And then if I want to go somewhere where I've got acreage, which you can do in Texas, and say you want acreage for a minimum of 1 acre to 5 acres, you'd be lucky to find something from 500 if it's got a decent house on, because the house was probably built in 1940s or 50s. But you've really got to drive quite a way out of the city. But you haven't got public water and all the other stuff that comes with it. But then, of course, when we get a hurricane coming through to it, insurance can be very high in Texas because of the hurricanes.
This year, insurance is honestly almost doubled from last year.
It has. Insurance costs have gone up on some of the properties that we manage. The insurance has gone up between 20 and 30%.
Why is that?
Because of the amount of hurricanes and claims that they've had, and hail damage.
Is that going up? Has it been going up recently, or is it just because there's more people getting damage to their property?
That's a good question. What do you think? I think it's all of the above.
I think it's all of the
I mean,
above.
we had that freeze, 2020.
Yeah, we had the freeze
We have never seen it.
That's right.
for our governor that doesn't want to share electric with other states, so he'd rather us freeze to death. But
I got a suggestion. What recommendations do you have for, say, a buyer or a seller that's looking at agents? What kind of questions do you think they should ask, or what should they look for to make sure, or so that their chances of getting good representation goes up?
well, I think your first thing is, a lot of people don't understand what representation really means and how important that is. Because the first thing is, they said, with the guy we had yesterday, he said, oh, well, I can represent myself. I can represent myself. Why do I need you? I can read the forms. That's the first thing, and they don't realize how many steps they've got to go through to do it properly.
Yeah.
But personally, I think the thing that they should do, I think it's important that, you do your due diligence. I personally wouldn't really recommend to get your agent through social media, because you can put stuff on social media, and to be perfectly honest, it doesn't mean to say that they've done the transactions that they've got. I actually had a conversation with Laura this morning about, you get different real estate coaches. And I question a lot of real estate coaches. Are they in the business of being a coach? And I'm an Olympic coach, but the biggest thing to me is, quite honestly, just getting somebody that, don't go to your social media, but maybe call some offices and speak to some brokers and see who they would recommend in a particular area. But so this is something that Laura just brought up and sort of shot me with, because I didn't think he was coming up that quick, but there you go. But this is something Laura put through about, qualifying for a loan. Because I think the first step is, get qualified for a loan. And I think if you do get qualified for a loan and you're working with a loan officer and a good loan officer, then hopefully they know a decent, estate agent that can point you in the right direction. But basically it says, pre-qualify for a loan. That's obviously the first step that the buyer should be doing. And then,
Make sure you can buy, right?
yeah, and then, find your home and submit your application. And that's where I think the realtor, but I think stage one on the pre-qualification of the loan is one, obviously get qualified for the loan, but at the same time, that's when you can also have an additional conversation, with a good loan officer to say, well, okay, do you know anybody in this particular area, or can you recommend, a real estate agent to me? Because I think the first thing they're going to say is, well, why do I need a real estate agent? And that's always the biggest question, because everything is available online now. Everybody thinks that they can, do it themselves. The amount of times that people have turned around to me and said, well, this house is available because it's on Zillow. Well, there's some homes that aren't available on Zillow, and even, realtor.com at times, they need to go to the local MLS, and the way you do that.
I'd like to add a little bit to your real estate selling, real estate agent selling. So for example, if you look up new homes here in California, it doesn't look like there's that many available. By different areas, you might see 4, 5, 6 houses available. So you would think that it just takes a few people to buy those houses up. But if you actually go to the sites where they have the houses, there's like 20 houses that are available. And that's not something that you'd find online. That would be something that talking to the real estate agent, that real estate agent would be able to give you that information. Some other information, like how you were talking about the lower rate earlier, people are ending up with rates under 5%, because the people that are selling the new houses, they're basically paying the interest rate up front for people to end up with the lower payment instead of having to lower the price of the house, because if they lower the price of the house, then the cat's out of the bag. But that's not something you would know by going online or not using an agent. You would need to talk to an agent that knows what's going on to find out those kinds of things. And if you can get a payment that's $500 less by using an agent for over 30 years, and your agent makes a couple $1,000s, then it's kind of worth it, right? Because you just saved.
Absolutely.
So that's just to add about finding a good agent.
No, very good point. Very good point. Anything you want to say about this, Laura?
So, the first step I always tell everybody, the first step is getting pre-qualified for a loan. And the main reason behind this is because they don't want to start dreaming on a home and then get discouraged or cold feet, right? So, you don't want to start shopping for a home that, for example, it's at $350K and you really qualify probably for a higher home, right? And you're limiting yourself. Or it could be the other way around, that you're looking at a 350 home and you actually qualify for, let's say, a 220, right? So you don't want to get our homes dreams on, because then you're going to always do the comparison, right? So it's like, it can be a dream crusher, right? And then, so that's one of the suggestions, right? And then the other suggestion is maybe your income is not quite there, or maybe you do not want to spend because your budget is not there, so it could be budget reasons, like it could be how much money you have saved for the purchase. So there's so many variables. I mean, It could also be that you're self-employed and not W-2, you know, like we were talking earlier, your status in the country, you know, now because, you know, you hear about all these programs, that means that you qualify. So it's super important that they get it pre-qualified before they get a loan. And not only that, but also, you know, we take the time to educate them and tell them, you know, this is the programs that you have available, you know, for your present status or for your current budget, right? And then the other thing that I love doing, and you can chime on that, Courtney, like we work together with the realtor and we tell them like, this is their max, what they're qualified for. And this is the payment that they're looking for. So yes, they qualify maybe for 300, but they're looking more into a budget of 230, right? So that's where a good partner comes in, and together we can take them to the closing table.
Right. And the other part that I think is important when we say, I think it's important that the agents, the loan officer, all strategize as a team. As I said, there's no I in team. And the reason why I say that is because there's different products that you offer where you can't buy different types of houses. And that people think that, oh, I can just go out and get a loan and go buy a house. But that's where the expertise of an agent comes in and the expertise of a good loan officer comes in, because the last thing you want to do is get all the way down to, you know, step 3 and 4 and then find out that you can't buy the house in the first place because it wasn't the right type of loan.
Right. I've seen that actually happen a few times where people they want to do as much as they can. They reach a point where they need an agent, and then you come in and then you see some stuff that went bad at that first, they messed up the first step. So it just might as well just have the agent there from the beginning to help you out. Now, I want to, I'm maybe jumping around a little bit. There was an article from Reuters that I think might have came out yesterday, 2 days ago. So it looks like, what is it? So interest rates are connected to inflation, right? They're not there. And the interest rates for the Jerome Powell has where banks borrow money from each other. That's the interest that he raises. And the reason he's raising it, because he wants to keep inflation under control. So it looks like with all the banks going down, people taking out their money out of the smaller banks, putting it into the bigger banks, it looks like there's an indicator that interest rates might actually stop going up because inflation looks like it might be under more control. So there might be a chance that interest rates might actually start going down sooner than later. I can provide that link if
is that something that you'd agree with, Courtney, or is that?
Ever since they've had the problems with the banks over in California, our interest rates have been better. Probably the best that they've been in about the last 6 to 8 months.
They stabilize.
So that backs up what you just said, Israel.
It's the M2 money supply has slowed down faster than it has in like the last, I think, something like 20 or 30 years. And that's basically the inflation. You print $1 and that dollar gets put into an account, and it turns into $9, right? That's the inflation. That's the M2 money supply. So that's one of the indicators that they use to come up with the lower rates. And as we can see, we dropped like 0.5% over the past month. So it looks like even though Jerome Powell said that they're ready to use all the tools, which is they're going to keep raising the rates, there's a chance that they're going to go down. But like I said, I do have the article if anybody else wants to read it and fact check me and you guys confirming it.
It's kind of like a wait and see. If we start seeing more banks having issues, then we're definitely probably going to see rates go down. If that does not happen, it kind of looks like we're stabilizing a little bit. It hasn't been a lot of changes in about the last, 4 or 5 days?
Since last week.
Since last week, yeah. So it's been about the same for about 4 or 5 days. Everything's going good. But if the inflation still keeps going up, then the Feds are going to keep raising the rates. So hopefully that doesn't happen.
Yeah, about a week ago, we were very concerned about that. But then, once the feds had the talk, interest rates went down and a lot of buyers benefited by that. We started, locking rates, getting them that bonus.
Yeah, well, before I say what I'm going to say, I'm just going to say that this is just for what we can, this is just comments and this is just sort of informational purposes and such like, and just comments on different things that we've got. We don't give financial advice to people. But Israel, do you follow crypto?
I do. I like crypto actually.
You do? Okay.
I don't talk about it too much because I don't want to influence anybody, but I'm pretty into crypto.
Well, yes, I think crypto is part of our future.
Right.
I really do. I think it's a big part of our future. We're now people are buying houses with crypto. With some countries, all they do is crypto. Do you think the actions of the banks, like the Silicon Valley Bank and such like, ever since, crypto's gone up, what, 70% so far this year? Do you think that what's happened with the banks in California will help the value of crypto? Because I think it will, because I think people lose a little bit of confidence in the banks when they see stuff like that.
Right. So this conversation is heading into a rabbit hole, right, in this direction. So I don't know if
that's what we're here for, is the Texas Real Estate Show Rabbit Hole.
So this is something I recommend. This is a ledger. I don't know if
Nano
you guys
X.
a nano. There you go. You know what it is. So people are just to sell crypto a little bit. If you guys have heard of a cold storage, right? It's like a USB. So people are scared of crypto because of all the FUD that's being spread, people losing their Bitcoin and Ethereum and all this stuff. But you got to understand, all the people that lost all that money, they didn't have control of their money. They basically had it in a bank. So you got to, in order for them not to be able to take it, you got to put it on this thing. So that, to give people confidence about crypto, and they think they're going to lose it because of Voyager and Celsius and Signature Bank, right? All these places going under and making people lose their crypto. So Bitcoin, you can trust Bitcoin. If you have it on here, no one can do anything with it. So I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, what's going on with the banks? So it's kind of weird. They put some guy in jail that runs one of the exchanges to where you switch.
FTX? Is that FTX?
That's one of them. That's one fraud thing that, you put your money there. He messed it up. Sam Bankman-Fried and his crew. That money disappeared. I think we're supposed to get some of that back, but we'll not too worried about it right now because I don't know if I'm going to get any of that back. It depresses me. But whatever's on here hasn't been touched. That's what's important. So, but it seems, because we're going to have the change to the banking system in a couple of months, right? Where we're going to the Fed Now system. I'm sure you guys are aware of the Fed Now. Do you guys know about the change that's going on?
Not me.
No. What are you referring to?
No.
Oh, wow. All right. So there's, okay. Where do I get started? So you guys are aware of how China does their money?
Yeah.
All right. So I like China, by the way. I've been there and I have friends over there. I love the culture, the food, Great Wall, the whole thing. China's, if you want to visit China, I highly recommend it. It's very nice. So they have something called WeChat. There's no cash, right? You can, if you go to a grocery store.
I'm familiar with WeChat.
Right, all that. If you have this digital money, which they can put an expiration date on it. They can put geological limits on it. Say, for example, there was a protest and they didn't want people going to the protest area, so they basically made their money useless. They couldn't pay for transportation to the. So we're getting something called Fed Now, which is basically the same thing that China has. And this Fed Now, a lot of people aren't aware of it. This Fed Now, once this hits, people are going to want to buy Bitcoin. But what's been going on the FTX thing, the Silvergate, that was also a crypto bank. There's one of the exchanges, one of the guy that runs it, he got arrested. So it looks like they're turning off what they call on-ramps. Because once this Fed now thing hits and you can no longer use cash, you're either going to want to buy gold, you're going to want to buy Bitcoin, but they're making it hard for you to buy any of these other things besides turning your money into the digital currency that we're going to have now.
Wow.
That's why I see Bitcoin going up, it coming up here. They might have another crash because there's still some other issues, leverage with different cryptocurrencies. So there might still be another little crash.
Yeah, I think yes.
But,
I saw a TikTok, something about Trump had a whole, I don't know, 55th floor, and he was turning it into gold because it was gonna weigh more than $1, or I don't know.
Do we believe anything that Trump says?
well, you gotta listen and process it before you decide if you believe it or not, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, Trump is a successful businessman, right? So when it comes to business and making decisions about gold and transactions like that, he has a good book on business. So that's probably, I'm Mexican, so coming from a Mexican, it's a high, that's a really good recommendation.
I've been reading about Ted Cruz, his opinion on the digital dollar.
What do you think of what do you think of the digital dollar?
Or who are you asking me?
Yeah.
Right. So I'm not a fan of control. What happened in Canada with the truckers, where they were protesting, so they basically turned off their account so they couldn't buy fuel for their trucks. That's terrible. In China, where they couldn't go to the protest sites, I think that's terrible. And I think that's the kind of power that the government is going to have once we go to that digital money.
Yeah,
think
I'm with you on that.
Salvador, wasn't that what the other guest was saying?
El
That
Salvador, they went over to
crypto?
Bitcoin. They went over to Bitcoin.
Bitcoin
It's
crypto.
legal tender. It's actually the national currency over there. So, and
Right.
that's done, it's done wonders for their economy. I mean, their thing before in El Salvador, right? They're famous for the gang that they have. So they're making an example of putting all these people in jail and less than humane, in the less than humane system they got going right now for them. But they're making an example of them, and there's a lot more tourists and people feel safer. So Bitcoin is doing a really good thing for that entire country. That if that's not an indication of a good thing, I don't know what could be.
The European Central Bank just put a projected logo of Bitcoin on their bank last night.
They did.
Yeah, it's really been.
Yeah, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency is here to stay. We might not see, we're not going to see, like right now, you buy a token and you buy this and you buy that. It's going to be more of most companies are going to have an interface, just like a regular website, where you buy stuff and you move stuff around, and the whole crypto technology, the Bitcoin technology, whatever cryptocurrency technology, that's all going to run in the background. That's why
the blockchain.
Yeah, the blockchain technology, that's all going to be in the background. With the US, it's not confirmed, but I'm pretty sure it's their own blockchain technology, because as a country, we've been working on it for a long time. JP Morgan Chase has a bunch of Bitcoin, and they're coming up with their own coin, and a bunch of different banks. So it's definitely here to stay, but it's going to run in the background to where it's seamless. You don't actually know you're buying a cryptocurrency, you're moving it around. And the US is going to keep that all a secret. They don't want to see when they create money, that information. Like, you can go, if you buy something with Bitcoin, you can go and look, there's a ledger of every single transaction that's happened, where
Right.
it's come from,
Up to 21 million of them.
Yeah, all that, you're going to be able to track all of that.
Right.
Or you can literally go, it's on, I can tell you what website it is. I don't know off the top of my head, but if somebody buys something off it, you can follow that Bitcoin to wherever it comes from. So the US created their own, and they also have a ledger, but that's going to be only available to the government. We're not going to be able to see what's going on. So that's also something why I would trust Bitcoin over the federal
Right.
government. Don't come after me, please. I'm still I pay my taxes. I love the US. You know, we're the best, but
Okay, well,
my opinion.
no problem. I appreciate you coming on the show, though, and it's been nice to get your opinions and to sort of find out more about California. And you know, if you've got
Pleasure.
if you've got anybody from Houston that's looking to move to California, or from California to Houston, you know where we are. Give us a call. So you know, from me, from Laura, and from Courtney.
The silent one today.
What's that?
I said I've been the silent one today.
Yeah, you have been very silent today. Normally she's shouting. Normally she's shouting at me. And then we've got Kay as well. We'd like to thank you, Israel, for coming on the show, and it's been so nice to, you know, to meet you. So from here, you take care. All right, you have a good day.
Awesome. I appreciate you guys.
Appreciate you.
ToosDae.com. ToosDae.com.
Take care.
All right, love. You guys have a great day. Bye-bye.
Recording stopped.
The recording has stopped.